Hello, this is Joe Price from the BYU Record Linking Lab. I'm going to provide some instructions on how to do tree extending hints from our volunteer portal. So this is the Google Doc you see when you get to our volunteer portal. And we're going to be doing tree extending hints. So I'm just going to click right here where it says data. I click on it, and then I click on this URL that pops up. And what it's going to do is drop me right into the Google spreadsheet for tree extending hints. And then I'm just going to scroll down. I'm going to scroll down until I see a blank spot. And you could pick a blank spot anywhere. I'll just jump right here. So I'm going to put my name in, Joe Price, and I'm going to check out a few of these to do. Okay, then all I do is I click on this and I click on the link, and it'll drop me right into SourceLinker. So SourceLinker is something you're probably familiar with when you've attached a record hint. And what we're having you do is record hints that involve adding a new person to the tree. This is a great way to grow the tree and provide temple opportunities for other people. It's also a good way to connect together different families on the tree so we can make the tree tighter and provide better discovery experiences for people on the tree. So at this point we just need to decide if these two people are the same. So we have a match on the first name, the last name, the birth years within a year, which is common for census records since it asks for age and not birth year. And then you can see that we have a county, Fleming, that's matching up with where he was buried. And then in fact he was living in a very similar place, so in the same county just the year before. Okay. Now if we wanted to be more sure, we could always click on Arthur Lewis, and we could look for other records that might, maybe a marriage record that would link his parents. So if we come over here to record hints, we can see here's a World War I, World War II draft card. We can hit show details to look at some of these things, but we have a death date that matches up. So these are ones that don't really give us a relationship of information about his spouse. So these weren't super helpful. The other thing we could do if we want to be really sure is we could also click on Ancestry, and again we would log into Ancestry, and we have some records here, so I can click on here, and sometimes Ancestry will give us some idea of things that records that it thinks are the same person. We can also hit this button right here to look at a public member tree. So notice here we have some public member trees. We have one here with his parents John and Mary and a wife Lida. Now the nice one about this third one is it has a lot of sources attached, and it actually has the maiden name of Lida. So let's take a look at that. I'm not sure why it's asking me to do that, but let's try that one more time. Okay, so here we are, and we can see Lida, and if we go back to our source linker, this was a 1910 census, so if we hit the 1910 census, we can actually see that it's the exact same record. So this gives us a lot of confidence that this is the right record, but it had the added benefit that now we know what the wife's maiden name is. So at this point then, we would attach the record to Arthur, and then we're going to add in his spouse. We're going to put in her maiden name. Now while we're here, since we also found out other things about her, we could also put in her death date. So we'll drop that in right there. And we come back here. And again, what I'm doing is I'm just highlighting the place, hitting Control-C to copy, Control-V to paste, and then I'm going to create a new person. So now we have completed the tree extending hint. And so we've added Lida to the tree. And if you want, you're welcome to then go and maybe find other information about Lida, but at this point, we've accomplished the task. And so we put a 1, which means that that was a good match, and we were able to complete it. So let's try another one. And again, with each of these, the situation is always a little bit different. Sometimes we have a lot of people we can match on. Sometimes we're adding lots of children. So this is an interesting case where we're actually matching on a lot of people. And so you can see that this is a very good match. Lots of the kids are lining up exactly. The parents are lining up. And then we're going to have some new people. So for example, we just found Eliza's father. We have a daughter named Bertie that we didn't know about before, and we have a daughter named Anna, which we didn't know about before. This is a very good example of a tree extending hint that allows us to grow the tree, add new people to the tree that will then provide temple opportunities for people that are related to this family. So I'm just going to attach this source like I would with any other record hint, and here I'm adding a new person. So I'm going to add her father to the tree. And again, I'll just keep adding, attaching each of these. And then here we have Bertie, so we're going to add her to the tree. And sometimes when I go to create a new person, it will give me some possible duplicates. And you want to look over that carefully and sometimes just select one of those instead of adding a new person to the tree. Okay, again, we're going to just keep attaching all of these. Okay, and then we'll add, and then our last person to add is Anna. And so again, we look and hit create new person, and then we've added her to the tree. Okay, let's do one more example. So that was a good example of what a big family looks like. You're going to encounter lots of these big families. So now that I've done that, I put a 1 here in this column, and then I click the next one. And again, I can always close these windows if I don't want to get things out of control. Now this is an interesting case where the only person I have matching is Bessie. So this is very common where I'll have Bessie with her husband in the tree, and then this might be the same Bessie that has parents and siblings. So again, we can click on Bessie, and again, keep track of this name. Joe and Stella are her parents. So we'll go to Bessie and see if we can find some evidence that her parents were Joe and Stella. So we're looking for Joe and Stella. So here we have a Bessie that matches up here, but her parents are Sanford and Louisa. And then here we have that 1910 record we're looking at, which has Joe and Stella. So we have a bit of a conflict here about whether she is this person or whether she is this person. Okay. So at this point, we could come in here and just put 0.5, which just means I'm not sure. We could also do a little bit more sleuthing work if we wanted to. Sometimes Ancestry can help clear up these puzzles. So again, I could hit Ancestry, and it might have some clues. So here is the record that we're looking at. And again, I can hit, so it thinks it's the same as this 1900 record. I can also see if she shows up in anyone's public trees. Now here we're seeing Bessie showing up with Joseph and Stella as her parents. Now we're not seeing anyone that connects both her to her parents and her spouse. So at this point, I might just leave that a 0.5. And then if, you know, about 5% of the time, the match will just be incorrect, and in that case, I would put a 0. So at the end of the day, what I do is I just try to work through those that I can. If I'm able to determine it's a match and add people in, I just put a 1. If I'm not sure, I just put a 0.5. And when you're first starting, I wouldn't feel bad about putting 0.5s. Just do those that you feel confident about. And then as you practice this more, you'll become more confident and you'll be able to do a good job at finding the records that help you know for sure. We're really grateful to have your help with this, and feel free to send us any comments or follow-up questions about things that we could help share to make this a better experience.